What is up, guys? Welcome to my interview series Back to the Covers. In these interviews with members of our drum community, we look back at their first YouTube cover and celebrate how far they have come since starting and what got them started as a YouTuber. We check out how they've improved their drumming and their setup. Join me as we revisit our YouTube drummers past and look to their futures. What is up, guys? Welcome to part 12 of Back to the Covers. Now, this is quite a unique experience for me. Usually this is the first time that I actually meet drummers that I interview, but this chap I've had a beer with. Epic. So, without further delay, my guest at this time is Virtua Drummer! Woo! Hey beer buddy.
Hello again.
How are you?
And I've got one on the go as well.
You've got one on the go. I'm going to keep my head in the game for the interview, so I shall have one after. So, how are you, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. It's been quite a productive day. I managed to upload another drum cover, so the second one.
He is back.
Yeah. So that's 2 in a week I've managed to do. Yeah. Which is pretty good, because when I recorded it, I must have recorded it 10 times.
Okay.
And on the 10th time, because when you watch it, there's only one camera angle. Because the other 2 cameras had conked out.
If I get to the 10th take, if I don't get it on the 10th take, I stop. That's my limit now. It's like, okay, it's not ready. It's not going to happen. Get over it.
Yeah, I was just lucky that the 10th one was it. Yeah. So.
But only one angle. But that's cool, man. Anyway, welcome to Back to the Covers. Now, we had arranged this for some time, so I'm really glad to finally pin you down. Yeah. And you did it, but you've been busy, which we will talk about. No spoilers, so I'll bring up several of the reasons and stuff in a bit. But before we start talking about drums and shit, let's talk about Back to the Future. So, do you have a love for the Back to the Future trilogy like the rest of us?
Oh, definitely, yes. The second one is my favourite.
Whoa! Boom. Okay, I'm. Ooh. See, you're the first. Usually, it's the first one people go for. No, I have a soft spot for the second one, man. I think it was the same thing. Only the effects were better. It was a bit more modern. So why do you love the second one?
Well, the first one came out. When was it? 1985, was it?
Yeah.
So I'd have been 10.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it when we lived in the Middle East, when we lived in Oman.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have to wait for the releases like they did in the UK back then.
Yeah.
So you remember something used to be released in America, then you'd had to wait 18 months till it was released in the UK. Absolutely crazy. Or
if you flew on an airplane, you could see.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, but out there. You'd have pirate copies of everything, So I watched the first one. The first one was pretty good, and then I saw the second one when I left school. It was actually when I was on exam leave, so that would have been May 1991 that I saw the second one, and then I saw the third one, and I'm not because the third one was very Western orientated. So I wasn't really a fan of that. But the second one, with all the technology and everything, and it was about the future rather than the past. I mean, my mum and dad loved the first one.
Yeah.
Because it was all the way back, when they were kids.
Yeah.
But for me, the second one was just brilliant. I just loved it. And I to be honest with you, I got excited about the second one at the end of the first one, when the DeLorean turns up and it takes off and stuff like that, and also, I mean, the Back to the Future is quite special with regards to my time when we lived in Oman, because there was a gold-plated DeLorean being driven around our local area by one of the members of the royal family.
Oh my God!
So we would see it, we would see this gold-plated DeLorean. And then Back to the Future came out, and it was like that's the same car.
That's awesome.
So in these Arab states, they've just got so much bling. I mean, even back then, the trend was they had things like Trans Ams and stuff like that because and Pontiac Firebirds because Knight Rider was the thing back then.
Right. Okay.
But this dude, I can't remember who he was. I know he was a member of the royal family, but he had this gold-plated DeLorean which looked totally out of this world. And then Back to the Future came out, and because my dad knew the DeLorean story, and he was like, "Oh yeah, they've gone bust, and the owner's in prison for dealing drugs and stuff like that." And then Back to the Future just made this bankrupt brand
Cool.
well known.
Yeah, they made a cool game.
John DeLorean probably would have preferred it if the movies were made a couple of years previous. It probably would have saved the brand, but no, the second one with all the technology and everything just blew me away. I like that one, and it was going into time, going into the future. That's the kind of time travel I like. So
awesome, loved it. Now, I always like to show some merchandise at this point. Long ago, I ran out of Back to the Future merchandise. Now I'm going to do some TV merchandise today, because I am a big fan of the TV show Lost. Did you watch it?
I haven't, no.
So Lost was the best TV program ever. It's what created these blockbuster TV shows now, right? Everything's a blockbuster, right? It's like mini movies now, aren't they? Lost was the first one. Now I got a bunch of these now. They're no longer on display. Actually, this one's the only one I display now. So this is the hatch that they open. And we have Hurley, Kate, John Locke, and Jack over the hatch. Anyway, the rest of my figures are all in storage. But anyway, breaking it out, Lost.
See, everyone I've spoken to about Lost, even all the way back. I think, when was it? I think 2006 or 2007.
Yeah, it was about that time.
I used to go out jogging on my lunch break when I worked at this local authority.
Nice.
But I remember the one saying to me. She suddenly said to me when we were out running, she said, "Oh, I haven't been out on the town or anything for about 6-7 weeks." And I said, "Well, why is that?" She said, "Well, I started watching this Lost." And she said, "I can't stop watching the previous." She's got the DVD box sets or something.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I heard about it. And other people I know who have mentioned it to me said, have you seen Lost? And I said, "No, I haven't." And they're like, "Are you crazy? You won't leave your house for about 10 weeks watching all the episodes."
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that are on my bucket list, mate.
It's worth it.
I will get round to it. So
I rewatch it once a year. I just finished rewatching it now.
There you go, man.
Well, if anybody wants to binge watch it, if you haven't seen it, sort yourself out. Get on Disney Plus. It's on Disney Plus. Anyway, that's enough of talking crap. So now we're going to go into your Back to the Covers episode. So it's not a gold-plated DeLorean, but we're going to hop into one anyway. Our virtual DeLorean. So here we go. Let's go into your past whilst drinking a beer like Biff. And here we are in the past, not so long ago. 2021, right?
Yes, that would have been 3 days after the end of the last lockdown, that would have been.
Oh, wow. What month was that?
July.
July.
So,
okay.
So I think Freedom Day was like July the 18th.
Okay, well, it's July 14th today as of this recording. So like 2 years. So pretty much exactly 2 years ago. So this is cool.
Yep.
Okay, so I was just joking with you off of the recording when we were getting ready to record this bit. How, all the other Back to the Covers, they've been really basic, phone, acoustics, not even hooked up to microphones, and just hit record. But you, sir, look at this setup already, okay? You're in your garage, right, with that superb lighting. You're obviously using a very decent camera, which we'll talk about in a minute. You're already set up for making these covers, man. So I guess what we'll talk about first is this is obviously preempted and pre-planned out to start your channel. So tell me about that. Why did you plan to start a channel?
Well, I didn't initially. It was I basically bought the E-kit, the VAB 506, which what you see there wasn't as extended or expanded as it is in that shop there. And I bought that, set it up in the garage on the concrete floor, and then sent the picture to a mate of mine. And he said, "Oh, you could do some stuff on YouTube with that." And I thought, that's an idea. And then I started like looking more into doing that, looking at the garage and thinking, you know, obviously I'd need to do something in there to make it look attractive. So I looked at some other channels, and I think there was this one guy who was doing some electronic drum stuff. I can't remember who it was. I can't even find the video now. But I noticed what he had was this like blue and pink uplighting, you know, in his studio or something. And he wasn't doing drum covers. He was just talking about electronic drums. And I thought, well, that looks pretty cool. That does. And then I realised, well, I would need to build a platform, which you see it sitting on there, which is basically in two halves, which clamp together. So I basically started planning for that. And for about a month, it was just the platform was just sat on the concrete floor. And then I decided it needed some wheels, you know, just in case I need to wheel it out.
Cool.
You know, and then I needed to paint it black.
Okay.
You know, to it all starts piling up.
Yeah.
So I got that done. I think I bought the E-kit in April of 2021, and I think the platform was done by the end of the May, because I had to buy loads of stuff from B&Q. And then I started looking at the lighting, what kind of lighting, and I found those uplighters that you see on Gear for Music. They're just DJ uplighters.
Yeah.
And when that video was done, there's only there's only one blue one either side.
Okay.
There's now two of them either side, and two pink ones at the back, just because if you look at it, the picture is very pink.
Yeah.
So I added another one each side to get it more pinky blue. And then what happened then was the expansion of the VAD 506. You know, so I got a TD50X module, which you can see there, some more cymbals, the SBD30, which I now use as a practice rig in the room around the back there, and then the extra snare drum on my left, extra floor tom on my right, and then two PD85s or something just at the side there. But I didn't have the VHD 14D hats then, so that's just the normal VH11s or whatever, which I absolutely hate. But I use them on that SBD practice rig now in the back there.
Yeah.
And that was it really, mate. You know, it was born.
It's amazing, and that pink really works against the brickwork as well. But I mean, already you can see you're sucked in because your epic setup, right? That's a lot of drum. Just the overall look, man. So like, kudos, man. You got it right first time. However, this might be your first video cover, but it's not your first cover. You did some audio covers, didn't you? You did. I've got the list. I did my research. Yeah, you did 2468 Tom Robinson Band. You did Kim Wilde, Kids in America.
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine, Freedom, and you two Bullet the Sky, the Blue Sky.
Bullet the Blue Sky,
Blue Sky. Awesome. Yeah. So, tell me about that. Why did you start off with audio covers and then video?
Well, there was two reasons. One was because, you know, after nearly 2 years of lockdown, I'd put on a lot of weight. Right. Really had put on a heck of a lot of weight. And I was really apprehensive about going on camera, because, you know, everyone I know would see these videos. I mean, they would, you know, there's no point me doing videos and not telling people.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And the other thing was I just wanted to get used to the audio mixing processing first.
Yeah.
And also the other thing was I wanted to see if I could play in time.
Okay.
Because, you know, I mean, I'd say April 2021 was the first time I picked up the drumsticks in 12 years.
Wow. Okay.
So those sort of test videos were really just to see if I could play in time. And I did get some sort of comments back from friends who watched it, who said, well, not watched it, listened to it more like, who said, you know, you have to appear in your videos. You can't just do audio stuff. And I said, well, you know, I know that.
Yeah.
But, you know, so, and then that was when I thought, right, I've got to appear in a video. I've got to do a video. What's the best way I could do it without people noticing how much weight I've put on?
From the top.
And I thought, well, it's from the top, because everyone knows how bald I am.
You're extra shiny. Yeah, extra shiny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
That was the one downside of it. I mean, even then, if you actually look then, I actually don't know what lighting I was using because now I've got the 2 studio lights in front, I've got 2 studio lights at the back, and I've got a light pointing down. So I actually don't know I can't remember what lighting I was using at that point. But the camera that I used was this one.
All right, okay. Awesome.
Which I still use for my overhead. And I bought this camera, this GoPro Hero 4, in 2015 for cycling into central London and back for work. So I'd have it mounted on my helmet, on my cycle helmet.
It's a mini one. Was that one of their first ever mini ones they did? Because they've started doing mini ones now again, haven't they?
Yeah, it's the first one. There's no stabilization on it or anything, which I don't need.
So it has to be static, yeah.
So, but the thing is, when it was on the bike, it was good, and obviously because there's a lot of arseholes on the road. You needed something like this going in and out of central London on a push bike. And usually when there was trouble, as soon as people spotted the camera, they tended to back off a bit. So this came out of retirement. And I basically wedged a piece of pipe in the joist above me, above the joist, below the roof, with this hanging off a mount to get that shot.
Awesome. Well, hey, great setup. Now that leads me to a question. There's another revelation there. So what made you pick up the 6 after 12 years?
Well, I mean, I'd been thinking about it for quite a while. Even before the pandemic. Probably as early as 2016. I was thinking about getting an electronic kit, but I thought, well, in this flat, I couldn't probably get away with it because the impact noise would affect everybody else. And it never actually dawned on me. I had a garage down there that was, not getting used. And I could put something in there. And then I got talking to a friend of mine from many years ago, who was a drummer. And he was basically, just go for it. And that was during the pandemic. And then I was looking at an acoustic kit, and I thought, well, I'm not going to get away with that in the garage. And then I looked at electric kits, and I didn't like the small electric kits because you can kind of get too used to playing them. Because I thought if I'm going to play the drums again, I'm probably going to want to go out gigging again. So I need something that's a full size kit. And then I saw the VAD 506.
And then you beefed that bitch up even bigger.
Yeah. I saw the VAD 506 and I thought that's standard drum shell sizes.
Yeah, awesome.
And then things just snowballed, mate.
Awesome, epic. So we've discussed your setup there, your camera, your lighting. The audio, is that all just through the modules interface, or?
So that's out the USB. The USB out on the module into my MacBook.
Yeah, done. Nice and easy. That's why we like kits. No fucking about.
And then into Logic.
Logic, yeah.
So it's just two stereo channels. I didn't bother with because on the TD27 and the TD50 you can have the separate. Like a real drum kit. You can have the separate tracks.
Yeah.
I didn't bother with that. I just used the stereo tracks. So and that was. And I never used on the TD50X. I never actually used any of the stock kits on the TD50X because, believe it or not, they're crap for such an expensive for a module that's nearly £2,500.
Yeah.
The stock kits are crap. The TD27 was better for stock kits. But what I did was I bought expansions from the eDrum workshop.
Yeah.
Which are samples of real drum kits, which is what the TD50X is good at. The modelling, that's what that's where the money is. That's where what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Is the modelling and the ambience as well. You know, the ambience they can give, and that's what you hear on all my covers. You know, are just third party patches. So.
It sounds great. Your kits always sounded awesome as well. Right, so I didn't even know if I mentioned the name of the song you're playing. So it's "You Really Got Me" by the Kinks. I know the song well. My dad's a Kinks fan, so you can imagine Car Journeys back in the 90s was this overplayed cassette. Anyway, I do have an appreciation for them. Why did you choose this song to be your first video cover?
Well, it's an old faithful when you've been in cover bands. Any cover bands you get to until recently. I mean, the cover bands I'm involved with at the moment just don't play any Kinks stuff.
Okay.
But years ago, when I was in cover bands, all cover bands I was in, we did "You Really Got Me" and "All Day" and "All of the Night" back to back. Always did those two. Yeah. Very simple grooves. You know, it just made sense to me, and of course that's not the original that I'm playing to. It's a custom track from karaoke version. Yeah. Because there's a click going in my ear to play along to it, because you know, even then my timing wasn't very good, and I remember playing it, and I remember putting all sorts of fancy stuff in it, and then listening back, and I was like, that's out of time. It's just going out of time. Every time I did a roll, it was out of time. You know, because my perception of subdivisions was so bad that I just couldn't do it. I felt like I was doing it right. When I listened back to it, I was like, because if you watch it, it's a very solid, safe performance. Yeah. You know, I don't really do much in it. I don't take any risks or anything like that. And that's basically where I was at the time. Yeah. No, it's cool. And,
still a solid cover. Still very solid. Awesome. So, why did you choose your channel name, Virtua Drummer?
Basically, it's a rip-off of Virtua Fighter. Yeah. So all the games I played and in the arcade and stuff like that when I was a kid it's always Virtua Fighter. Yeah. And I thought, you know, and I just thought with the drum kit not being a drum kit, it being a virtual drum kit, which it is. Yeah. I thought, well, I'm a drummer, virtual drummer, and I thought, I've said this to other people. Yeah. You know, virtual drummer is just like a name of virtual drummer, but Virtua Drummer is that's that bald fat dude that does drum covers on YT
with the shiny head.
With the shiny head. Yeah. So yeah, Virtua is basically a rip off of the old
Virtual,
Sega stuff. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, great. I think we've nearly done it in the past. So if you could indeed go back and in a DeLorean and talk to yourself back then about your channel and everything, what advice would you have given yourself looking back now?
You probably won't like this, but my advice would have been spend more money on soundproofing the garage. Yeah. Completely soundproof it and buy an acoustic kit. Okay. Because you're going to go out gigging, boy. But at that time,
so do it now. But I guess, look, for you wanted to get back in the swing of it, and that's what this did, right? From all your covers, building your channel, it gave you that confidence. Your timing came back pretty fucking quick. Anyway, we'll talk about the rest in a second, because right now we're going to hop back into that DeLorean and we're going to come back to present day. So here we go. And here we are, back pretty much 2 years exactly, back to the present day, and here is your remastered cover of the Kinks. You Really Got Me. Thank you very much for redoing it. Obviously, elephant in the room straight away, big change, acoustic kit. So, talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I bought that acoustic kit in August 2021 when I finally got a bloody refund from Virgin Atlantic. And after over a year of messing around, I finally got the money back. and then I saw that kit on the Graham Russell drums website. I think they'd only had it for a day. I think it was the first Star Classic in Phantasm Oyster in the UK, because there'd been a 1-year delay in delivery because of COVID. I was just like, add to cart, buy. So I went and bought that, because that was when I decided I wanted to go out gigging again, because the appetite for e-kit drummers is just not there.
Yeah.
Not only do you need quite a backline, possibly an in-ear monitoring system for everybody, a lot of people still don't accept them, which is fine.
Yeah.
So I went and bought that, and then there was a period of 6 months after where I was buying cymbals off eBay, because I certainly wasn't buying brand new cymbals again.
Yeah.
Apart from one, which is that EFX one that I cracked the other day, and it's gone back to GAC in Brighton. They picked it up yesterday. 2 months left of his warranty.
Oh.
So all the other cymbals are all second hand. So that was the start of it. Yeah, that was where that came from. So
it's great looking kit. Love the colour. It is awesome. Also, obviously the other change obviously has the same overhead cam. There's more cameras. So how many additional cameras have you added?
Well, if you look at my previous e-kit covers, you can see I think there's probably up to 5 at one point. But now that I've decided to get back into covers, I'm cutting it down. Probably from 3, even just to 1, mate. Because it's just a lot of work, isn't it? The more cameras, the more work there is.
Yeah.
So for the front, I bought this, which is a Canon EOS 250D DSLR. So that's what's filming the front.
Solid camera.
And then the side one was a GoPro. Whoops, there we go.
Yeah.
GoPro Hero 8 Black.
Solid.
So that's the side one, and then the top one is the Old Faithful again.
Still there, still going strong.
And I used to have a dolly going left and right like that.
On that front one, but it's broke, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately that's dead.
Yeah. That's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, that's dead.
Do you think you'll replace it? Are you going to replace it and do it again? No, not going to bother.
Can't be bothered, mate. Can't be bothered.
It's pretty cool though. That is, even though it is quite basic.
Good.
But
it was good. But it was good. But I never noticed any change in views or anything like that. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's not all about the figures though. Okay, cool. So, so you obviously added some more lights. So you added some more photography lights. So now that you are more confident, you must have lost some weight and you added cameras to the side, like you were saying. So I'm glad that you had that confidence to appear not just from the top. So that's awesome. Okay, so now we have to talk about the audio. It's not just USB plug-in now, right? So tell me about the audio you're using.
Yeah, so it's much more complicated. That's the thing with abandoning the many cameras now, is because the audio has become
that's the extra
become
work.
more complicated. So basically what you see there is basically an array of Shure microphones. Now the Tom microphones are probably the cheapest Shure Tom microphones. The overheads, cheapest Shure condensers. But the snare is an SM57. I can't remember. I think it's an SM57 or something like that, which is a good mic, which is something you want for that. And then in the kick drum is I think it's a Shure Beta 52A, which seems to have a mind of its own at the moment. It seems to be behaving. But that's for the kick. So for the kick and the snare, I spent a bit of money, but for the overheads and the tom mics, I just went with the budget Shures, and they do enough. They do a good job. I've used those microphones live. I've recorded live performances with those microphones.
Yeah,
they do a good job, and that's it. So
cool.
But obviously, it then goes into a Roland Studio Capture USB 16-channel audio interface.
Yeah.
Which was about 700 quid. That was.
Wow.
And then from that is a USB 2 into the MacBook, and then to Logic Pro.
Logic Pro. Awesome.
So it's a lot more. Then I have to do the mixing myself. I have to do the compression myself, because on the eKit all that was done. Yeah. Everything was done.
Yeah.
But on this, it's. I mean, I've got some pretty good default settings now. So it's not as hard.
But it's been a learning curve. It's been a learning curve.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Now this Back to the Covers remaster has come at a really good time, because you've just started up again, right? I don't even know how long it's not like you stopped doing covers, you were just busy gigging, right? So that's where you've been. Anybody wondering where Sasha been? You've been gigging, right? And you've been gigging a lot. So much so that you started, and I know you don't do it anymore, but it was awesome when you did it. Your gig vlogs were awesome. I know a lot of us in the community really enjoyed it. So, are you still gigging now, or has that come down, or what's the deal there?
No, still busy, still very busy on the gigging side. But the thing was with the gig vlogs was, the bands that I'm in are basically club bands.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of time to set up. You don't have a lot of time to break down.
Yeah.
And the problem I was having was with doing the gig vlogging. Was whilst I was playing, I was too busy thinking about the cameras and where they're going to go and all this sort of stuff, and are they recording? Are they, if I didn't see the red light flashing on the GoPro, I'd be like, I'd get up at the end of the song to go over and the rest of the band would be like, what are you doing?
The distraction.
Just a distraction. And I thought to myself, because it's one of the things I want to do is to actually get into like a function band, doing weddings and stuff like that. I mean, awesome. That's what I prefer to do.
Yeah.
Because pubs and clubs, it's just a rush. Everything's a rush.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that, where you turn up somewhere, you have to be there early to set up and everything, and you've got the time to place things and put things around, and so that's why I commented and said, the gig vlogs are just going to cease for the moment until I start doing functions. And the thing is with the bands I'm in, we play at the same venues.
Yeah.
So there's probably like 12, 13 vlogs I can do.
Yeah.
And then they repeat. Then they start repeating again.
Yeah. It's fair enough.
So that's why I brought that to an end. It was an idea I wanted to test it. I mean, it was an idea I wanted to test. It was an idea I wanted to test. 1, to see if I could do it. 2, to see how it looked, how it played, and 3, to see how it sounded. So I got an idea that it does work, because that's basically why I did it. But I think when I do it again, when it's more at private functions where you're going to see different venues, very diverse venues, which you will, because I used to do private functions years ago. That's all I used to do for about 2 years. You play at stately homes, you play at hotels, you play in farmland, you play in marquees. Every one of them's different. Everything's different. So each vlog is unique.
Yeah.
So they'll be back.
Awesome.
But I don't know when.
Good to hear. And what made you make this change? And put your acoustic kit in, and like you said in the past, you have now soundproofed the shit out of your garage, haven't you?
Yes.
What made you make that transition?
Well, one of the big problems I was having was at gigs. Well, let me turn that around the other way. One of the problems I was having was when I was practicing, I was always practicing on the VAD 506, right? So I'd practice new songs that we needed to learn. Any problems I had with current songs, I'd practice them on the E-kit. And the problem is with an E-kit is it delivers a perfect drum sound to your ears. With an acoustic kit, you don't get a perfect drum sound delivered to your ears. In fact, it's if you come off an E-kit to do an acoustic kit, it's a god-awful sound that you get.
Okay.
And what I was finding was when I was gigging, after a week of playing on the E-kit, I'd go to a gig. I'd go and do a gig on the acoustic kit. I'd feel completely lost.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel comfortable, on the acoustic kit, to the point that I was actually starting to doubt myself. You know, can I do this? You know, am I capable of doing this? Because I'll be making so many mistakes. Some of the mistakes I would made were horrendous, and usually because you know, I just was thinking about everything, the sound and everything was going on, thinking, holy shit, this just doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that any time that I set the acoustic kit up in the garage before I soundproofed it, so say I'd set it up the day before a gig,
yeah,
I noticed I'd do better at that gig the next day.
There we go.
And I started putting 2 and 2 together. Both are linked.
Yeah.
You've got to play on what you gig on.
Yeah.
You've
got to practice on it. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, you got to practice. Yeah, you got to practice what you play on. Sorry.
Totally.
And that was when I made the decision to further soundproof the garage. I mean, it's not perfect at the moment. There's still a lot of leakage going on, but you know, it's not penetrating the building fabric of the buildings in front.
Yeah.
You know, it might piss some people off who are in their garden, but
get over it.
You know,
we have sunshine for 4 weeks in this country.
Well, exactly. You know, like today, it's been pissing it down all day, and I've been in there.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their windows closed and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but the thing is, you know, that was when I made the decision to set that up, to get it permanently, well, not permanently set up in there, but always practicing on it every day.
Yeah.
And then just sell the e-kit, because you know, that's what I've got to concentrate on, is the acoustic kit.
Great.
And that's it. That's what happened there.
Awesome. Now let's talk about some of the successes of your channel. You are, as of today, 2.58k subs. Epicness. And you're unofficially the king of shorts in the
well, I was.
Community.
I was.
You and I think those tie hand in hand with your sub increase, right? You mastered the shorts, and then your subs went up with your views of shorts. So smashed it. So congratulations, man. You're going to overtake me very soon. So very cool.
Well, I must admit, the initial shorts is funny, really, because I'm dissing the e-kit here.
Yeah.
But the initial shorts that I put up were like live clips of me playing, live.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the actual 3 top shorts that I've got, those bloody Phil Collins things that I did, I just did them as a laugh. You know what I mean? I'll just do these. But those top 3 that bring me in the most views and subs were all done on my e-kit.
Yeah.
So I can't diss it too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, just crazy.
And of course, the classic, typical, and stereotypical "In the Air Tonight." Doop 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 boom boom. Is that your top one?
Even though I did it wrong.
Even though you did it wrong, and everyone tells you. So anyway,
yeah.
The remastered track. Obviously, you didn't play it safe this time. You went for it, and those feels are perfection. How did you feel doing this? And you know, what do you think of it? Are you happy with it?
Well, it was a good one, because when you asked me to do it, I was still playing on the e-kit at that point. When you asked me to redo it back in June, I think May, you'd asked. So I was still playing on the e-kit. So, and then, you know, I mean, I was just gonna just send you any old shit, you know, and then you said, you know, I can't remember what you said. You said something like spice it up, or, you know, do it differently. And I just thought, oh God. So I came up with a few ideas when I was on the e-kit of what I could do, but things took over. I mean, you remember I had some depth gigs and stuff, so I had to miss out on doing it, so it was quite delayed.
Yeah.
And then obviously when I sat down to think about it, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, when I set everything up in there with the mics and everything, and got all the lights going again, you know, and just got all the camera angles sorted out. I then started figuring out ideas of what I could do, and then I realised that some specific patterns can fit in to specific parts of that song, particularly the triplet patterns. You know, the triplet, the 8th note subdivision of right, left, left.
Yeah.
So you know, right wherever, left on the snare. So I came up with a pattern in the middle, because in the middle bit before after the chorus, there's that little section, then it goes back into the chorus, and then the second time it goes into the lead guitar solo. Normally people just play a dum 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 da da da, and then back in. But I thought of an idea of putting in like a triplet to 16th note pattern, just 16th note, straight pattern on the cymbals, and then a bit of when I hit both cymbals, when I come off and hit with the left and right, that's a bit of linear drumming in there. So just to combine those three sort of phrases into that section, and it seemed to fit. I mean, the second one,
great.
The second one I did is a bit ropey, and I managed just to bang out of it in time.
Okay.
But I did have a previous take where I did it perfectly, that bit, and I thought, well, what I could do is just splice that in, and then I thought, no, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even live,
yeah,
I make mistakes like that, and I have to come out of it and back in.
Yeah.
So when people look at it, if people know anything about the phrasing and stuff like that I'm doing, they'll see he's not quite in time.
Yeah.
He's gone out a little bit on the second one, but he manages just to pull back in as it goes into the lead solo. And that's what playing live is all about.
Yeah.
You feel something's going, and you need to drag it back. Sometimes abruptly you need to drag it back, and that's what happened in that song. That's why I left it there.
Oh, cool. Now the last bit in the present. What do you enjoy about being a DrumTuber?
Well, it's good because the thing is, you have to bear in mind that this YouTube channel's got me in every band that I've applied for, and I've even got one band which is a function band who put up an advert last week for a deck drummer that they needed for a day that I wasn't playing, which was September the 2nd. And I contacted them, and you know what? I actually thought these guys are not going to come back to me because this is a really top function band in the London area.
Yeah.
And I included my mobile phone number and everything as well. And I said, here's my YouTube channel if you want to see it, because they asked for examples to play. And within about, I think, an hour and a bit, I started getting messages. It's like an online CV.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And I think the video they watched was Radar Love.
Okay.
Was the live version of Radar Love that I did at Abridge, because it's the first video, that was there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, every band I've been in, every band I'm in, I've sent them the YouTube channel, and then there's an email saying, can you do an audition on XYZ date straight away? So
great, excellent. Well, that is awesome and good to hear. Okay, so that's everything in the present. So let's hop back into the DeLorean one last time and go back to the future. Here we go. And here we are into the future, where we are going to talk about future plans for you as a drummer and your YouTube channel. So, what have you got planned?
Well, for the YouTube channel, I'm basically trying to get back into doing the covers again, because, as you know, which we can't go any further on this, if that's okay, I do have a side idea that I want to develop. And which is going to, hopefully have an impact on everybody in this drum cover community. But I can't say too much about it. However, the thing I realised is that I can't quite go forward with it if I'm not doing drum covers myself. So I'm looking to get back into doing drum covers again. As you can see, I uploaded another one today, and I thought the best way to approach this is, with the amount of bloody songs I've learned in the bands that I'm in,
yeah,
they're the covers I can do.
Awesome.
Because I know them. So I'll be starting on those, getting those done. Probably not as many camera angles as you used to, but probably concentrating more on the sound, than the camera angles. So yeah, and then what I'd like to do is then start to move into sort of like drum tips on things like technique, how I do things, how I play certain patterns that people see me play, that some people in the past have asked me about.
Yeah.
So basically explain, like I said to you earlier in the previous, in the offline chat we just had, explain how there is some hard-looking things that I do that are actually quite easy to do, and if you just mix them around, you can pretty much impress people by doing that. So that's another thing. I want to work on doing that. Also, I'd do some videos on, basically people who looking to join cover bands, give them tips. To kind of try and do a cover band 101 drumming video.
Awesome. Of
the kind of things, the pitfalls and the things that you can work on to make sure what they call getting the gig.
Yeah.
That's an old saying that. So I'd like to do that because it's just a lot of stuff that I've done over the last, over a year now, to help other people. I think from a band perspective, from playing live and stuff like that, I really do want to move more into the function band, wedding bands and stuff like that. It is an environment that I do prefer. I've had some people ask me about getting into tribute bands or theatre bands, which is something I'm not really interested in.
Yeah.
I like the atmosphere of functions. I don't know why. I just like the atmosphere of a function.
It's party time, right? Everyone should technically be pretty happy.
It is, yeah. And basically, there's not much, how can I say, demands on you as a performer as well. I'm not saying you play like shit, but I'm just saying it's more of a relaxed atmosphere, mainly because by the time you start playing, everybody's pissed anyway. So do you see what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So it's a waiting game. I think I'll get there. I think my playing's there. I think my timekeeping is coming on in leaps and bounds. And that's where the covers come in as well, because I can keep a check on how I'm performing, on how things sound. So for instance, those patterns that I did in that remaster, I could listen back to that and I could say, that's actually okay, that's in time. Whereas 2 years ago, if I tried the same thing, well, I did. And it was just all over the shop. Even though, Ash, I thought it was okay at the time.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
So you've got your timing back after.
It's the perception.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned over the past year is, my perception of time, shock horror, is different to everybody else's. So I could be sitting there playing a song thinking this is fine. And then at the end of the night, the rest of the band say, do us a favour, don't play that so fast again. And you're like, pardon? What? Yeah. And that's where some of the cameras that I take to gigs come into play, because I listen back to it and go, holy shit, that was fast. Yeah. But to me, it felt okay. So there's that realization, okay, there's some problem timings. There's some timings that are a problem. So I just hook up my, my iPhone with bloody Pro Metronome on it, plug it into my little mixing desk, and any of these songs that are a problem on the timing, just put in a click. I just play to the click. Everyone's happy. Problem solved.
Good.
Immediately solved. No one's upset. No one's, my ego hasn't been bruised. I've just accepted there's certain timings and phrasing that I can't quite do. And I have to learn, I have to work on what's underneath that. Yeah. And again, that's where that comes back to the YouTube channel. That when I do solve these issues, then I can tell people on the via Instagram, via TikTok, this, if you're having this problem, this is how I solved it. And that's what people want to hear.
That's great.
That's what this social media is about. If you look at the majority of it, people go on there to look for a solution for their problem. And if you can provide that sort of thing, then that's great. So I'm hitting all these challenges, and these were even challenges when I played before. Ash, when I used to play before, I'd have people at the end of the gig saying, can you slow down a bit, you're playing too fast.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd never understand why. I'd be kind of like, you know, why? To me, it feels all right. No, that's your perception. You've got to, like, how can I say? Sometimes you deflate yourself to play a song slow correctly. You just deflate yourself and just go, you know. And then when you see a smile on the face of someone in the band, you know you've got it. You know, and then it's keeping that timing solid. You know, that it's not going up or down, it's not slowing down, and all that sort of stuff. You know, when people say to me, you know, what would you recommend on what book should I go out and get to learn drums and stuff like that, I just tell people the best thing you can do is get your ass in a band as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Start playing with other people, start learning timing, if that's what you want to do. A lot of people want to just play drums at home. They're not interested in bands.
Yeah.
It's fine. But for people who are looking to get into bands future, the quicker you can get into a band, the faster your progress is. Even as a drummer, even learning things, the faster your progress is, because all these rudiments, if you see a drum tutor and he's telling you to learn all that stuff, it starts to come out in that scenario when you're playing live with other people. You know, you stop thinking about stuff and you can just reel things off. Awesome. And that's what I tell people. I say, don't worry too much about the drums. You know, learn the basics. Obviously, you got to. But get your ass out there in a band, even with people on the same level as you as beginners, and just start playing with other people. Awesome. And then the magic happens.
Great tip. Well, that kind of covered my next question, which is any advice for any people that want to start a drum channel. But I guess you just covered start playing drums. Any advice for people that want to start a YouTube channel for drums? Any advice for those type of people? Yeah. Start before you're ready. Okay, just explain that. Just do it.
Well, I spent a lot of time thinking about things, and I'll be honest with you. I know you like the lighting, you like the kit, you know, and all that sort of stuff. You know, when I first started doing these drum covers, and I know that video that first drum cover video did get a lot of views. Suddenly, after a couple of months, it suddenly shot up. Mainly by, you know, basically e-kit lovers who came across it. But the thing is, you could do all this stuff, and when you release that video, you know, even all this stuff you put in, lighting and fancy drum kit and everything, chances are it's still going to have 1 or 2 views after 1 hour. Chances are people are only going to watch the first 30 seconds. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So rather than get hung up for 2 months like I did, and then start pussyfooting doing audio recording because I was afraid of how fat I looked.
Okay.
Eric, you know, in life, there's no slide rule. There's no one with a slide rule going, oh, that's not right. That has to be to this standard. There's no book of standards. There's nothing. You just do it. And if anyone tells you how to do something, or you could have done it better, then you just say to them, well, I look forward to your effort then.
Yeah.
And then that's it. You never hear from them again.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's my advice to anybody thinking doing drum covers in YouTube. Don't worry about expensive equipment like I did. Don't spend thousands of pounds. You know, use what you've got. You know, use your computer. Use whatever. Use a camera. This GoPro here.
Yeah.
Which I know these 8 blacks are like next to nothing on.
Yeah, they're solid as well. Absolutely solid.
But they're next to nothing on eBay now. You know, I paid 300 quid for this thing, and you can pick them up for you know, I don't know, nearly 100 quid or something.
Yeah. And
the thing is, I tell you this, mate, for recording drums, the microphone on this is brilliant.
Yeah. It
doesn't clip.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I watched back that drum cover I did, Cocaine.
Yeah.
I watched it back on this, and I thought to myself, I don't actually need microphones. I can just use what's coming off this.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm saying, mate.
Yeah.
You know, you just you know, do it within your means, but do it.
Just do it. Just go on.
And also, don't get hung up on mistakes. If you know, if you're playing to a song and there's a particular difficult part of the song, don't do what I do and sit there for a month trying to learn it, and then that's a month you haven't released a drum cover or anything. You know, if you can't do it, move on to the next one, or just skip the hard bit.
Yeah.
because no one's going to give a damn, and chances are no one's going to get that far to watch it anyway.
Fantastic. Okay, Sasha, so that is the end of your Back to the Covers interview. How did you find the whole experience there?
I thought it was really good. I noticed I'm getting used to these chats now, even though even though I still talk a lot, but I don't think I've said too many times now.
Yeah, not too many swear words either. So you've been very well behaved, sir.
I've always been all right on that one. But no, it's been good. It's been good to think about how I did things, because you've made me think how I could have done them better, how I could have probably saved a lot of money as well. But you know, you just don't know until you try.
Exactly.
And it's been an interesting journey. It really has. It's good to be in two bands because, as you know, I was in Holland.
Yeah.
The other month with another band, which went absolutely fantastic. And it's all really down to the drum covers I did on the YouTube channel.
Awesome.
And you know, because like I said, it's just like it's like a shop front to the world, and you never know. Like Jeff Beccaro always said, you never know who's in the audience. You just never know. So it's been good to chat about it. It's been good to go through it all, and you've certainly got me thinking, mate.
Awesome. Well, on that note, let's end this with the way I always like to end my episodes. But in the wise words of Dr. Emmett Brown, your future hasn't been written yet, no one's has. Your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one. Sasha, you are the man. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll speak again soon. Legend.